The north side of the storm near Jackson Township up towards North Canton, you're just seeing some rain and obviously hearing the lightning and thunder, but it's right into downtown Canton that I'm seeing the most intense part of the storm as this one continues off to the east around 40 miles per hour. So the National Weather Service keeping an eye on this. These are just damaging wind gusts with this. In the next 5 or 10 minutes, we have seen some rotation on it as well, but nothing to indicate that we would have a tornado with that storm as it continues to head into downtown Canton now. Our other storm, will go back to that. This is our tornado warning. This is the reason why we're on air. And we've got a tornado warning extreme southeastern half of the viewing area. This is Tuscarawas County. If you're in New Philly, if you're in Dover, you are fine from this storm. This storm is south of town and it's heading out of the viewing area, thankfully. There's Janeda Hutton. But again, this storm is east of you now. And you can see the latest radar taking that main area of rotation, heavy rain, and some hail that's been detected out of the viewing area right along Highway 800 there, or State Route 800, as that continues off to the east. And again, that's outside the viewing area. Other storms we're watching, Carrollton, you're getting some heavier rain right now. This storm is not severe right now. The only storm that we have that is severe is this storm up to towards the Canton area that we were just talking about. And then that warning actually extends north of town up into Portage County. But I've seen quite a bit of weakening with that Portage County storm here over the last couple minutes. Still perhaps some hail to the north and the east of Ravenna, but overall I've seen some weakening trend in that. It's really this Canton storm that I think has taken the priority in terms of these strong winds and the lightning. And it's also developing off to the west a little bit further. As you can see, some of those latest lightning strikes. We'll have to keep an eye on this as well. So if you're in the Bethlehem community or even Brewster in areas of Stark County, we'll keep an eye on this storm as this is some new development here on the back side of it. And oftentimes those can overtake the main developed area as it moves through. But really nothing to indicate that part is severe. If you are in downtown Canton right now, though, this is by far the strongest storm in the viewing area, despite the fact we don't have a tornado warning in it. I'm not seeing a tornado signature on that by any means. But again, if you're in Canton, I think you can prepare for some very strong winds with this storm. We've had a history of this storm producing anywhere from 60 to 70 mile per hour winds as it's moving off to the east. And that's really what I'm seeing right now. Good news is once this storm heads on out, we should clear out just for a little bit. In terms of the rest of the viewing area, I know a lot of you are watching this saying, what's going on? We've got really nothing to speak of in terms of severe weather where I live. Well, we're all going to get some rain from this little batch you see off to the west. This will move from west-east through the area. May see some gusty winds along it, but we've had this lake breeze that's developed on an outflow boundary right about here that I think will keep our northern portion of the area from Cleveland to Lorain, the west side. I think it'll keep us severe clear as we go through the rest of the evening just because it's brought in a little bit more stable air. It's down to the south, Portage County, even southeastern Ashtabula, southeastern areas of Geauga County. We have to keep an eye on these storms, but really the two most intense storms right now is this storm, which is still tornado warned, heading out of Tuscarawas County, heading over near the Mill community right now, just south of you along State Route 800. That one needs to be watched very closely. And again, this Canton cell is packing a punch right now as it's right over I-77, just south of Canton. That's where we're seeing the strongest winds. Those winds also extend a little bit further off to the north. I'm seeing them kind of traverse areas near Myers Lake, right as you're following 77 north of town up to about 38th Street Northwest. We're seeing some very strong winds. This is just above the surface, but it really doesn't take much given the setup right now to bring those winds down to the surface. So if you're in Stark County, if you're in Canton right now, areas off to the east, we'll time this out for you. You need to be in a safe place. This does include Louisville, heading over towards Osnaburg, and then eventually eastern areas of Stark County. This cell has held together quite nicely over the last 30 minutes or so, and it's been pretty strong as it continues to move out to the east. All right, we have the latest update on power outages now. Summit County leading the way with this. This is with some of those stronger thunderstorms that produced that 72 mile per hour wind gusts at the Akron-Canton Airport. The power outages number now up to 6,000. And overall, we're talking Akron leading the way with about 4,000 power outages, about 2,000 in the Barberton area, and then Norton checking in at about 150. So these storms capable of producing damaging winds. That has been the primary threat all day long with these storms, as we have a mid-level jet stream up above us that these storms are able to grow up into and tap into that. So we're seeing some of that wind being brought down to the surface in these storms, and that is really the primary threat. We've also seen some hail as well. I do want to pull up the hail radar if I can, and we'll take a look just briefly at perhaps some of the hail falling within these storms. And you can see we've had a pretty good indication. These are the hail swaths over the last 3 hours. You can see we've had a pretty good indication of some hail in areas of Wayne County. We've actually had some reports from eastern Wayne County of hail, and we're losing that hail signature, thankfully, as the storm moves into Canton. Also had some hail as you get up towards the Akron area near Barberton, heading over towards Coventry Township. We've had some pretty large hail with that. That has kind of lost its potency as well as it moves into Brimfield Township, thankfully. And then another hail swath that we saw down in areas of southern Tuscarawas County, and that was with that tornado-warned storm that we have in the viewing area now. So kind of a recap of what we have going on. There is a severe thunderstorm watch that's out till 9 o'clock for the entire viewing area. I would imagine they'll start trimming that back. Once this main line moves through, we'll probably trim back these counties first and then eventually off to the east. But we've got really 2 warnings right now. The reason why we're on air is that tornado warning, which goes for about another 4 minutes for the extreme southeastern half of the viewing area. That's Tuscarawas County right now. And that includes, eventually we'll move into Harrison County, but also includes the very southern tier of Carroll County. If you're in Carrollton, I think you're fine right now in terms of the rotation threat and the tornado threat. You are having a thunderstorm right now, but I see that rotation being just south of you. And then again, that other warning that we have in the viewing area expands areas of Portage County and Stark County. That does include downtown Canton right now, where I think we're taking the brunt of the storm that continues to move through. The good news is, Canton, you are about in the clear. We're seeing lots of lightning, heavy rain as well as the storm's moving through, but we can clear you out in about 5 minutes or so from that the strong wind threat. It is now heading towards East Canton. This is traveling east around 40 miles per hour or so. And this is by far the strongest storm in the viewing area right now, right over Canton, and it's traveling right along US 30. So if you are anywhere along there just east of Canton, that would include Broadway Avenue northeast, heading over towards downtown East Canton. We need to keep an eye on this storm as it's capable of producing 70-mile-per-hour winds as it heads on east. Now, the good news right now is that they have just expired that tornado warning for Carroll, Harrison, and Tuscarawas counties. So we will return you back to the senior tour, but we've got an update here at 6 o'clock. And again, if you're in the Canton area, keep an eye on this storm as it heads out towards East Canton and eventually eastern areas of Stark County. And we're going to flip over to Facebook Live. We'll go live on there on our news page. So that's where you can find coverage if you want it to continue. Now back to your regular scheduled programming. And thanks for joining us for continuing coverage of the severe weather here in northern Ohio here on Facebook Live. Meteorologist Matt Wintz with you. Strongest storm in the viewing area right now. Thankfully, we've lost that tornado warning that we have, but we've got a severe thunderstorm in areas of Stark County, and this storm's still packing a punch. It's had a history of some very strong winds up over 70 miles per hour just to the west side of Canton. It is now through downtown Canton. We're still getting the heavy rain, but it's this leading edge right here heading toward Osnaburg and even Louisville that we have some very strong winds with that, in addition to that wall of rainfall that's moving in, lots of lightning and even a little bit of hail as well. So if you're anywhere in eastern Stark County, and that would be basically south of 62 and right along US 30, you need to be in a safe place with the storm as it moves through. A lot of outdoor activities going on this weekend, obviously. So this is something you're going to hear coming with the lightning and thunder, but you want to make sure you're in a safe place, not just outside under a shelter. Just move inside as the storm continues to move off to the east. The good news is it is just a severe thunderstorm warning. We have no tornado warning on this. I haven't seen any really strong rotation with this in the last couple scans, but I am seeing pretty good signature of some hail with this storm as well, right in the center of the storm, which is now right over East Canton. So we're going to give another look here on radar of some rotation to see if there is any within this. And I'm still seeing some broad rotation with this around East Canton, but nothing that would indicate we would have a tornado risk as of right now from this storm, something we need to continue to watch. But we definitely have some hail falling within this and some very strong winds at the surface right over East Canton right now. So let's time this out in terms of exactly where we're expecting it to go. There's US 30 right now, and you can see 171 as well being impacted here in the next 5 or 10 minutes as this moves through East Canton and eventually east of town. But we want to time it out for the eastern half of the viewing area, so we'll kind of zoom out here. We're going to do a little tracker out. It's moving east around 40 miles per hour, and that will take it right into areas near Minerva. I think it should pass just north of you. We're talking the town of Knox around 5:30, Hanoverton around 5:37, and then eventually out of the viewing area in center by 5:48. And that would take it into Columbiana, a little bit more heavily populated area, around 5:56. So thankfully that one's heading out of town, but this one down to the south has continued to grow a little bit near the Brewster community. This is also in Stark County. We're going to continue to keep an eye on this little appendage that's kind of growing within the storm. Not seeing any rotation with that either as of right now, but we have developed a little bit stronger wind with that still as it continues to push off to the east. Let's give a check on our storm down to the south. This is our Tuscarawas County storm. This is the one that was tornado warned. That is now heading outside the viewing area. It has lost its rotation signature as well, so that's some great news out of Tuscarawas counties. But again, that storm was packing a punch off to the west. We had some hail reported in Tuscarawas County, some gusty winds with that, and potentially we had a pretty decent area rotation that may have formed a wall cloud or maybe even a tornado. We'll have to keep an eye on that and see what kind of reports we get in from the Weather Service. But that was a pretty potent storm that is now still a decent storm, but heading out of the viewing area. Elsewhere, because we're on Facebook Live, we can take the tour. We've got some stronger storms in areas of Geauga County. These are sub-severe right now. That's the good news, but we've got some heavy rain and some lightning near Middlefield right now. This extends northwest of Parkman along 168, and then we head into southern Ashtabula County. This cell has been going for a little while now pushing into Orwell along 322. We've had some stronger winds with that and some heavier rain, obviously, in addition to that lightning. We've got another storm moving out of the viewing area. This is out towards the Pierpont community near Pymatuning Lake. You can see that storm has some pretty heavy rain with it. Nothing severe with that either. And then eventually we're going to say goodbye to the Stark County storm as it continues to head east. That is by far the most potent storm in the area. All right, Cleveland, you haven't seen any rain yet. We've got rain off to the west. This is going to be moving in here over the next half hour or so. Just looks like light to moderate rain. You see this little line that we have here on the radar extending from areas of Geauga County, northern Summit County. That little line on radar is an outflow boundary, and what that is all the rain falling up in this line has created some cool air, and that cool air hits the ground, pushes outward, and that is a stabilizing effect. So I really think that we are going to go severe weather free here across our northern tier of counties, including Medina up towards Lake County, downtown Cleveland, the west side, the east side, over towards Lorain County. I don't see much of a threat for severe weather here the rest of the evening. That's some good news. We're going to see some rain, but I'm not seeing that severe weather threat as that outflow boundary has kind of cooled our air mass. Areas we need to watch, though, we've got that Canton storm. We've also got more storms moving into areas of Wayne County. You're still unstable in Wayne County. The good news is we don't have any gusty winds with this. These are just run-of-the-mill thunderstorms producing some heavy rain near Ashland, extending down to the south just north of Loudonville. And then Worcester, you're eventually going to get some more heavy rain in here, but your severe weather threat with these looks pretty low right now. It's really just that Canton storm that we continue to watch, and it has a severe thunderstorm warning with it. This is packing a punch in terms of gusty winds right over areas of Louisville right now, down towards East Canton, Osnaburg, and this is all pushing east along 172 and also 153, and it's moving around 40 miles per hour or so. Canton, you're getting some heavy rain back into the area now. Perry Heights, Perry community, some heavy rain, but nothing severe with that. There's a lot of lightning with these storms. I'll turn our lightning on, and you can see all the fresh lightning strikes that we have there with the storm. We'll put put a loop on there so you can kind of see what's going on with this storm. And you can see how it's kind of back building a little bit. But again, I'm not seeing any strong winds mixing down to the surface in this area. It's something we're going to have to watch. And the other thing we have to watch as well, these are kind of lone thunderstorms, so they can develop their own kind of atmosphere within them. So we have to watch for areas of rotation. Seeing some broad rotation back on this back half, but nothing to be concerned with right now. It's really this part of the storm right here that we've seen some really strong winds with here just over East Canton, heading off to the east and eventually heading out of the viewing area. So if you're in Minerva right now, I think this storm goes just north of you, but just north of town. If you are in Minerva or heading north along US 30, that's where you're going to encounter some impacts from the storm. That would be heavy rain, maybe even some hail and some high winds as well. So off to the west, Akron, you had an airport report at the airport, 72-mile-per-hour winds, which lies right in between Canton and Akron. That was with the storm we had earlier. Akron area itself, we've got another little storm here, not severe. It's going to pass just south of Copley, I think right over 277, 76 interchange. But that is really nothing to be concerned with as well with that storm. We'll have to watch, though, as that does look like it's developing along that outflow boundary that we have, that we talked about here. So you can see this line here, that is rain-cooled air off of this line of thunderstorms off to the north, and oftentimes that will serve as a focal mechanism for more storms to develop, and that's what we're seeing now. You notice that latest scan, this storm really starting to get going here just to the west of Akron, right over Copley, and again, we'll have to keep an eye on this storm and any other storms that develop along that boundary as it continues to head south and east. Notice how these have a little bit more energy with them as well, from Middlefield over towards Orwell, and that's because it's getting a little bit extra energy from that outflow boundary pushing in, and I would watch Portage County as well. We may end up getting some flare with these storms here over the next half hour or so as this line continues to push in. So the big picture looks like this. We've got the threat of severe weather really down in our southeastern tier of counties. I think right in here is where we still have that severe weather threat for the next maybe 2 hours or so. We'll start to clear it out slowly. If you're north, including Cleveland, up towards northern Ashtabula, Lake Geauga County, and off to the west, Erie, Huron counties, Lorain County, even Richland County, I think your severe weather clear the rest of the evening. That's some good news. We got to get this rain through you, but eventually we'll start to clear things out in terms of even the rainfall. But I think the severe weather threat is in that circled area the rest of the evening, and we'll continue to watch that. All right, we're going to end this Facebook Live now. I've got a forecast to put together. Join us at 6 o'clock. We'll have the latest update. We also have some damage reports coming into the Weather Center, so we'll organize those for you and let you know what to expect tomorrow as well. Obviously, a busy Memorial Day weekend. And tomorrow we're going to do it all over again, I think, for our southern tier of counties. But we have another round of some showers and storms for some of us tomorrow. And we'll highlight the timing on that and what your Memorial Day looks like. Thanks for joining us here on Facebook Live.